afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of MSME Masterclass. We are honored to have Mr. Raghav Gupta, Managing Director of Jakson Infra, joining us today. As a fourth generation entrepreneur, Raghav has been pivotal in expanding Jakson Group's infrastructure business, driving growth across sectors such as solar energy, power transmission, infrastructure business, driving growth across sectors, and civil projects as well. His leadership has helped the company achieve significant milestones in sustainable and innovative solutions. Raghav holds a degree in electrical engineering from the State University of New York and strongly advocates for continuous learning and development. With his extensive experience and passion for innovation, Raghav is here to share valuable insights that will help us navigate the future of infrastructure development and power transmission. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Raghav Gupta. Welcome, Raghav. Welcome to our MSME Masterclass. We're thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Amrita, and it's an equal pleasure and honor to be here. And I'm glad to share my 2 cents on how MSMEs can leverage the growing landscape of the transmission and distribution today.
Raghav, our first question that we would like for you to address for our attendees is, what are the current challenges that are faced in contributing to power transmission and infrastructure development in India?
So I think that primary challenges are quite rampant and known to all stakeholders attached to this domain. First one being right of way, of course, and land acquisition, where these are all linear projects. So they span across hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. Different kinds of obstacles could be private land, it could be crops, it could be national highways, it could be railway tracks. So there is the landscape changes so much, so dynamically, that one has to really accommodate that dynamism and those changes. And it takes time. It takes cost, it takes effort, which takes away from productive time. While I could be doing good work on ground, doing good construction, instead my people are there dealing with authorities, dealing with red tapeism. So this is a primary problem. If government found a way where the right of way had a clear policy, and some government intervention enabled us to solicit right of way more promptly, I think a huge weight would be lifted from the transmission and distribution sector. The second problem is the land acquisition, of course. As a right-of-ways problem, to build substations, you need land. And what we are doing now is adopting to GIS technology, which is gas-insulated substations, where 30% less land is required as compared to AIS. But having said that, still acquisition of land is needed. It's still difficult, it's challenging. We need a contiguous piece of land, which is most important. Getting a contiguous non-agricultural piece of land where we want to set up a project decided by the nodal agency always ends up being a significant challenge, to say the least. And then other challenges are primarily inadequate and the aging infrastructure that we have today. Our transmission infrastructure, while it's growing steadily, but it's still aging, it's under capacity. The technology is still catching up with what the global standards are. So definitely the infrastructure needs to catch up, and not only catch up, but exponentially grow. That's one thing. The third thing I would say, which everybody has been talking about, is renewable energy. So whatever the increase in demand that we are seeing today in transmission and distribution is attributed because of the target that we have taken by 2030 of being at least 50% dependent on renewables. And by 2047, 100%, 2070, we want to be net zero. So all the T&D demand, the main driver is that particular target. And renewable energy is not an easy fit, right? Because it has an intermittent nature. It has certain timings. It needs certain environmental factors to work, which obviously consequently has technical challenges. There is voltage fluctuations, there is frequency mismatch, there is over voltage sometimes, there is overcapacity. So renewable integration has to be leveraged through technology, where we are using battery energy storage systems efficiently to combat the grid instability. We are looking at decentralized power plants where microgrids or smaller generation sources can come in to match the offset created by the main grid. And of course, grid modernization, which is using smart infrastructure, using smart meters, smart grid, GPS technology to maintain, erect, and operate our assets. So essentially, these are the primary challenges. Of course, as we digitize, cyber threats will become an issue. As we increase regulatory policies, as we scale, regulatory policies will have to evolve to support that kind of increase. And that's pretty much it.
Raghav, my next question to you is with regards to supporting large-scale infrastructure projects. What do you think is the role of smaller enterprises in supporting these large infrastructure projects in India?
So MSMEs are actually a critical part of the value chain when we talk about any scale infrastructure, not only large scale or small scale. MSMEs play a pivotal role because anything that has to come together, it could be a service, it could be a component, it could be anything that has to come together on a field, is mostly done by MSMEs under a large infrastructure or a large umbrella company, right? So it's essentially actually MSMEs doing the actual work, actually moving the needle. It's MSMEs. It could be component manufacturing. If you talk about, for example, smart meters today, most smart meters are unorganized, given one or two national brands. These are small companies, MSMEs, which are distributing to local requirements of smart meters. Similarly, it could be panels, it could be cables. Any Class A item today required to expand our infrastructure business is mostly driven by MSMEs. Then the biggest advantage of working with MSMEs is the fast turnaround time. With larger conglomerates, it's really hard to push them. It's really hard to pull strings to get things done. Whereas MSMEs are more agile in their nature. So I feel companies like us who are mid-cap companies prefer working with MSMEs. It's easier to create more skill under an MSME brand who is dedicated to your cause. So, they will actually bring on people to cater to your requirements, cater to your skill requirements. So MSMEs can, like I said, they can and they continue to play a very important role in the large scale projects.
Now let's talk about government policies and initiatives, Raghav, and what are your views on how can businesses leverage government policies and initiatives to enhance their participation in the power sector?
So the government policies have been very transformative. If you see last 5 years only, our grid today is spanning to 4.86 lakh circuit kilometers of transmission lines and about 12.59 gigawatt ampere of transformation capacity. So this reflects the scale that we are at today. And our interregional transmission capacity today is 116 gigawatt. That has to grow by a CAGR of 14% for next 3 years. So of course, the potential is huge. It is given. I cannot underscore it more. What can really help private and public partnerships is aligning with that goal. We see the government taking a very pro PPP approach with many assets, not only solar assets. Solar assets IPP is a PPP model. Now transmission line TBCB is a PPP model. Even DISCOMs in the future might be on a PPP model. So the government has figured out the advantage of partnering with India Inc. more closely and using its proficiencies and using its efficiencies in reaching the goal. Even if you look at RDSS, which is the revamped distribution scheme going on today, with the outlay of 1 lakh crore, a big pillar of it is smart meters, which is again on PPP model, in the MISP model. So India is now taking uh, a very collaborative approach on working with the private sector, and I think it's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. We can see that as the increase in FDI in renewable energy that has happened in last 2 years. You can see that by the number of schemes that has come out, including RDSS, including the rooftop solar scheme that has just come out, the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. So the landscape is reflective of the government's mindset of collaborating with India Inc.
Raghav, we know and we understand that the market is very competitive when it comes to infrastructure sector and the power sector. According to you, what are the critical skills and capabilities that enterprises should develop to remain competitive?
So I think what's emerging today is that renewable is a dominant landscape. Given that, I would suggest companies and people to upskill themselves in installing, operating, and maintaining renewable assets, because that's going to be our journey to net zero, and renewable will be playing a huge role, a pivotal role in that journey. Uh, Skilling around smart grids is also very important. Grid automation is a very near future. But what does that mean in terms of reducing our operating costs? What does that mean of increasing our efficiency? What does that mean in improving the experience of the end client? That all that will come once upskilling happens with alignment to these goals. Then the other one I would say is project management skills. As projects become larger, more technologically advanced, high stake, it's very important that we have the right labor and the right skill to deliver these projects. Then the third thing I would say is regulatory and compliance knowledge, where people need to know what they're doing, is it compliant or not. It's very important to understand our local, national, international regulations wherever we are working. It's so that we can be compliant, and of course, environment and health and safety is equally important as well. Um, the third thing I would say, or the fourth thing I would say, is ESG integration. Uh, the entire global landscape is clearly a net zero landscape, and ESG integration is undoubtable the only way how we reach that goal. So understanding how we can push sustainability in everything that we do, not only our products but the services as well, the way we construct projects, the way we deliver projects. Essentially, we need to skill ourselves in that arena as well.
And what technological advancements are most accessible for enhancing operations in the power sector?
I think the dominant ones beyond renewable is the energy storage innovation, where round the clock power, where we want round the clock power through green energy, is in focus now. So particularly lithium ion batteries and flow batteries are looked at as the next platform to deliver round the clock power, where 50% of our energy, if it's renewable, in 2030, around the clock power has to happen on the basis of energy storage solutions. And of course, IoT and smart grids that has to supplement this adoption as well.
Raghav, I have a question with regards to green energy, which you just mentioned. How is green energy different from solar energy? And if there is a difference? right?
Yeah, of course. So green is a very, it's an umbrella term. Hydrogen is also green. Green hydrogen is also green. Wind is also green. So anything, any source of energy that does not create carbon would be green energy. Solar being an example of it.
Understood. Understood. How can companies, Raghav, enhance their brand and reputation in the infrastructure market to attract more projects and clients?
First of all, it has to be commitment to quality. We have to prioritize adherence to industry standards. We have to deliver exceptional quality, not only because to create brand image, but to ensure sustainability in the longer term. Innovation has to drive brand image in today's world. In today's India, we are not the ones copying the West. West is now looking at India on innovation, on economical solutions to deliver the same proficiencies they are able to deliver at their cost. So, innovation should be at our core. It should drive the services, the products that we deliver, which, of course, in turn will create that brand image. There's no replacement of success, unfortunately. So, success itself is brand recognition, in my view. And the most important one, which every successful company practices, is engagement with clients. Building strong relationships with your clients, and not only your clients but your vendors who work as your partners. So engagement with your entire ecosystem. That's how you establish your brand name, your brand recognition, and the collateral behind your brand.
And what are some untapped opportunities in the power transmission sector that can be explored?
So the NIP has planned almost 4.75 trillion of investment by 2027 in the transmission and distribution sector, out of which 3.13 trillion will be in interstate transmission systems and 1.61 trillion will be intrastate transmission systems. So the numbers are humongous. The pie is enough for everybody to participate and eat comfortably. Uh, People who will take on more what they can deliver will end up consolidating, will end up diffusing, because delivery is undoubtable. It's a guaranteed. When your client talks to you, gives you any work, then delivery is guaranteed. It's not a question. It's a prerequisite. So that's where we are. There's going to be a lot of cross-border transmission projects. India is thinking about connecting one grid across all Southeast Asia and being part of that goal. Once that happens, transmission will not only become a national opportunity, but will become an international opportunity as well. With renewable integration, of course, like I said, the pie only keeps bigger and bigger. And what we will see is underground and subsea cabling as well, where EHV is happening through marine routes. So these are pretty much the new areas which will keep driving the transmission and distribution sector for now.
And Raghav, what environmental and sustainability practices should be adopted in the infra and power sector projects?
First of all is energy efficiency. Whatever we are doing, we're generating green energy. Energy preservation, energy conservation is equally important at the heart of it. So creating energy efficient platforms which reduce your operating costs, which reduce your emissions and improve efficiency are very important. Sustainable grid infrastructure is going to be very important as we create new and new sources of energy around us, not only green energy, but also if you look at gray energy or look at the conventional source of energy, they are also equally what would I say, developing. Those capacities are also developing upwards. We cannot say they are on downward trends. So a sustainable grid infrastructure will be important at the heart of it. Water conservation, water is going to be the next goal. In 10 years, you will see cities fighting for water as a resource. And some of metropolitan cities in India will be on that list. So incorporating water saving technologies where we are able to use and reuse water, we create a circular economy in the water cycle is going to be important. Biodiversity protection, as we expand our footprint, we have to ensure that both the wildlife and biodiversity, flora and fauna, is not compromised, and all protective measures are taken so that that balance is maintained. And of course, community engagement. As we penetrate through new landscapes, through new areas, we want everybody to adapt to it in a harmonious way. We want them to have a buy-in on the bigger goal, and that can only happen through engagement and awareness wherever we are going.
Raghav, my next question to you is with regards to quality control and standards. According to you, how is quality control and standard compliance ensured in power transmission projects in India?
Well, power transmission distribution being a highly engineered sector, there are very strict guidelines. There's a very clear perimeter drawn by the Central Electricity Authority of India, CEA, under which any infrastructure project has to follow strict guidelines ensuring compliance with the national standards. Then every product that we use has to be IS or IAC certified, which adds another layer of quality and safety. The procurement that we do has to follow some safety guidelines which are clearly defined by each tender document. The SBD of each tender document tells you the makes, the specifications, the clear do's and don'ts of procurement as well. Government has a rampant system of TPIs, third-party audits as well, where third-party inspections happens and on-site audits happen. So they also add to the checker-maker framework of quality. And there is also incentives for quality. There are a lot of policies that provide incentives for adopting new technologies that deliver and ensure quality standards.
Got it. And how can strategic partnerships be built with public and private sector entities to grow business in the power sector?
So, like I said, power sector is an ever-growing domain, is an ever-growing market. India has to invest $1.4 trillion to reach a $5 trillion GDP by 24-25. And NIP will see a 39% of investment from state and center, out of which private sector will be contributing another 22%. So the private sector plays a very important role in this dream of growing India. And what we can expect from the government is PPP schemes where there is VGF, where there is viability gap funding, so that entrepreneurs and promoters are incentivized on their returns to build projects to help the government reach the goal. There should be tax incentives, there should be some subsidies wherever PP participation is there, And collaborative R&D should be done. R&D is some place where every company will not be capable, or their goals may not be aligned with R&D, whereas it is need of the hour. We cannot keep following other countries. We need to innovate for ourselves. Capacity building programs are equally important. Like I said, I think L&T just explained how they're at 50% manpower requirement of what they need to be to deliver their projects on time just a few months ago. So that speaks of how a company of that size is struggling with human capital. So, one has to really invest in that.
Now, my last question to you, Raghav, is with regards to future trends. What do you foresee as future trends in the power transmission and infrastructure sector that could impact SMEs?
So, the global market, the global electrical market, or global grid is valued at $63 billion today. And it will grow to $253 billion by 2032, which is a canon. So, of course, the expansion is a given. It's colossal, and it's now. But having said that, a lot of levers are going to drive it. One being increased digitalization. Of course, there's going to be a lot of smart technologies which is going to be driven by IoT. So MSMEs will have to adopt these technology advancements and skill their people to manage this adoption. Then green energy, the demand in green energy will be rising, of course, because there will be incentives all around, right from raising money to your end client on using green energy. There are products that sell being net zero, Apple being one of them. Apple has decided to be net zero by 2030. So that not only has actual benefits for the ecosystem, but it has tangible benefits for the corporate as well. We will see a lot more stricter regulations given that these standards are going to increase, given that there will be more focus on sustainability. And there's going to be consolidation in the industry as well, because people who play or who have a mindset of short term gain and don't have a long term view will tend to make more prolific mistakes than people with a larger agenda. So these are the dynamics I anticipate happening in the future.
With that, we've come to the end of our episode today, Raghav. Thank you so much for being a pivotal part of our journey with regards to infrastructure development and sharing your insights with our MSMEs. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Amrita. Thank you.
For our online participants, if you've missed any part of this episode or if you'd like to view any of our previous episodes, go on YouTube, type GSW1 MSME, and you will find all the episodes of GSW1 MSME Masterclass uploaded there. Thank you so much once again, Raghav. Bye.
Thanks, Amrita.